Hello and welcome back to the It's Cool to Learn History channel. This is part 3 of the history of France. Enjoy! Due to the expenses incurred in the 7 Years' War and in the aid given to the Americans in their War of Independence, the French economy went in a downward spiral. Consequently, the nobility forced King Louis XVI to summon the Estates General, arguing that only they had the power to enact fiscal reforms. This was a formal gathering of the three classes in France at the time. The first was the clergy, the second nobility, and the third was everyone else. Each estate was granted one vote. This angered the members of the third estate, who were frequently outvoted by the privileged estates. After weeks of stalemate over voting rights, members of the third estate declared themselves to be the National Assembly. King Louis locked them out of the meeting hall to stop them. They then convened at a nearby tennis court where they took the tennis court oath, vowing not to disband until a constitution was drafted. Immediately, the assembly began the process of writing a framework for the nation. 3, however, fears that the king would use military force to stop the assembly and the growing food shortages led to the storming of the Bastille on July 14, 1789. During the attack, the crowd secured vital stores of arms and gunpowder and succeeded in freeing the 7 prisoners. This date is widely considered to be the start of the revolution. A month later, on August 26, 1789, the National Assembly adopted the Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen. News of the revolution and the storming of the Bastille in Paris ignited widespread panic among peasants, leading to the Great Fear. During this period, they attacked their lords' homes to destroy feudal obligations. In response, the National Constituent Assembly enacted the August Decrees, which abolished feudalism and noble privileges. This decision aimed to quell the widespread unrest among the peasants and demonstrate a commitment to the revolutionary ideals of equality and justice. However, the king's reluctance to support these reforms underscored the tensions between the monarchy and the revolutionary government, setting the stage for further conflicts in the turbulent months ahead. The National Assembly then passed the Civil Constitution of the Clergy in July 1790, seizing church property. It made the clergy state officials and requiring loyalty oaths. This restructuring faced immediate backlash from Pope Pius VI, creating a divide between the juring, oath-taking, and non-juring, refractory priests, and marking a significant blunder in the revolution. The priests who did not adhere to the Constitution were severely persecuted. The following year, on September 3rd, a constitution was adopted, officially establishing France as a constitutional monarchy. The document declared fundamental citizen rights and created a system of limited government. While King Louis XVI retained executive power and the power of the veto, all legislative power was vested in the Legislative Assembly, a new body whose deputies were to be elected indirectly by active citizens. On the night of June 20th, 1791, the royal family attempted to flee to a royalist stronghold near the Austrian-Netherlands border. There, they hoped to rally support and foreign aid to counter the revolution. However, they were recognized at the town of Varennes and forcibly returned to Paris. This failed flight shattered the people's trust in the king, revealing him as a traitor who was against the revolutionary ideals. The escalating turmoil in France prompted the rulers of the Holy Roman Empire and Prussia to issue the Declaration of Pillnitz in August 1791. This declaration stated that the plight of King Louis XVI was a matter of common concern to all European sovereigns and threatened military intervention if he and his family were harmed. Interpreted as a direct threat, the declaration only served to radicalize the French further, leading them to declare war on Austria in 1792. This action initiated the War of the First Coalition, during which numerous European monarchies attacked France. The war concluded with a French victory in 1797, expanding French territory into Belgium and the Rhineland. The end of the war notably marked the rise of a successful young general, Napoleon Bonaparte, but more on him later. Amidst the foreign war, armed revolutionaries stormed the Tuileries Palace in August 1792 and arrested the royal family. As the monarchy crumbled, the National Convention was convened, and on September 21st, 1792, a republic was established. Stripped of his royal title, Louis became a private citizen, was tried for treason, found guilty, and executed on the guillotine on January 21st, 1793. His wife, Marie Antoinette, suffered the same fate on October 16, 1793. Faced with foreign armies, internal rebellions, and deep political instability, the National Convention created the Committee of Public Safety to manage the extreme crisis. Granted near-dictatorial powers to run the war and maintain order, the committee, led by Maximilien Robespierre, began a period of brutal purges known as the Reign of Terror. The committee claimed this terror was a necessary evil to establish a virtuous republic. To speed up the process of eliminating perceived enemies, they enacted the law of 22 Prairial, which effectively stripped citizens of fundamental legal rights. This grim period resulted in an estimated 17,000 official executions by the guillotine, with the total death toll, including those who perished from disease in prisons, reaching 30,000 to 40,000. The Reign of Terror concluded with the Thermidorian reaction on July 27, 1794. This political backlash against radicalism led to the overthrow and execution of Robespierre and his closest followers. Following this, the Committee of Public Safety was shut down, and the radical Jacobin faction was persecuted. In 1795, a new constitution was adopted, establishing a new government in France called the Directory. This body consisted of a bicameral legislature and a 5-member executive. Lacking popular support and plagued by corruption and chronic economic instability, the Directory increasingly relied on the military to maintain power, suppress both royalist and Jacobin opposition, and to prevent a return to the monarchy. In 1799, France was engulfed in political instability, economic decline, rampant corruption, and the looming specter of war. The Directory government faltered under the strain of coalition conflicts and domestic unrest, setting the stage for a dramatic power shift. Amid this turmoil, Napoleon Bonaparte, already celebrated for his military triumphs in Italy and Egypt, particularly his decisive victory over the Austrians in 1796, rose as a charismatic and strategic leader ready to seize control and restore order. In 1804, he introduced the Napoleonic Code, a landmark legal reform that guaranteed equality before the law for male citizens, protected property rights, and abolished feudalism. The coup not only ended revolutionary turmoil, but ushered in a new era of authoritarian rule and lasting institutional transformation. Spain and Portugal's refusal to take part in the continental system led to the French invasion of both countries. This initiated the Peninsular War, which was a long and arduous conflict, draining French military resources and morale through years of brutal guerrilla warfare. Initially sparked by Napoleon's attempt to enforce the decree through the occupation of Portugal, the war escalated when he deposed King Charles IV of Spain and installed his brother Joseph Bonaparte as king, provoking widespread rebellion. Despite early victories, French forces struggled to maintain control over the Iberian Peninsula as Spanish and Portuguese resistance, bolstered by British intervention under the Duke of Wellington, turned the tide. As Austria saw that the Peninsular War greatly weakened France's resources, it launched an attack on Bavaria, a French client state. Though Austria had successes initially pushing the enemy troops into a retreat, it would not last, since when Napoleon arrived, the French troops rallied. They secured a key victory at the Battle of Wagram. This led to the humiliating Treaty of Schönbrunn, by which Austria was forced to cede vast territories and its access to the sea to the French Empire and its allies. Following the victory over the Austrians, Napoleon enjoyed a period of unchallenged rule. The empire reached its zenith, controlling all of Europe except Russia, and he also reinvigorated the economic blockade against Britain. However, this generated widespread dissatisfaction and economic hardship, especially in Russia, that saw its grain exports halted. Tsar Alexander I of Russia was vexed at the French influence on his border, which included the establishment of the Grand Duchy of Warsaw, a resurrected Polish state, and the annexation of German lands that bordered Russia, intensifying the rift between the former allies and ultimately leading Alexander to openly abandon the burdensome continental system in 1811. In 1811, Russia distanced itself from the continental system, undermining Napoleon's economic war against Britain. In response, Napoleon assembled a colossal invasion force of 600,000 and marched into Russia in the summer of 1812. Instead of confronting the French head-on, Russian forces strategically retreated, avoiding major battles and drawing the invaders further inland, stretching their supply lines and exposing them to very harsh conditions. Upon arriving in Moscow, the French forces discovered a scorched and abandoned city, with no signs of food, shelter, or supplies. The harsh winter was setting in, and with no resources to sustain them, the French army was forced to retreat. As they trudged through the snow, they faced nearly continuous harassment from Russian forces, who relentlessly attacked their flanks. The situation only grew more dire as they entered Polish territory, where rumors of a possible coup reached Napoleon, prompting him to ride ahead of the army. Ultimately, it was said that General Winter, along with the determination of the Russian forces, proved too great for Napoleon to overcome, sealing his fate. The War of the Sixth Coalition, 1813 to 1814, was a decisive conflict between Napoleon's French Empire and a formidable alliance of Russia, Prussia, Austria, Sweden, and several German states. The coalition launched a sweeping counteroffensive, culminating in a major victory at the Battle of Leipzig in October 1813, often called the Battle of Nations, which forced the French into retreat. Coalition forces then invaded France, capturing Paris on March 31st, 1814. Just days later, Napoleon abdicated for the first time on April 6th. The war formally ended with the Treaty of Fontainebleau, which stripped Napoleon of power and exiled him to the island of Elba. Subsequently, the Treaty of Paris restored France's borders to their pre-1792 lines and reinstated the Bourbon monarchy under Louis XVIII, brother of the executed Louis XVI. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.